Okay, with that, I'm going to get started. Good evening, everyone. My name is Mike Larkin, and welcome to tonight's monthly Action Committee for Transit's members meeting. Once again, I'm Mike Larkin. I'm a board member with ACT. I focus on land use and housing issues. Tonight, our speaker is from the director of the Housing Opportunities Commission, Ms. Chelsea Andrews. Before we get into the heart of the meeting, I want to very quickly update the membership on several activities that the Action Committee for Transit has been doing. As you possibly saw in the news yesterday, the state session in Annapolis ended. ACT was very active on that. I think you people might have saw us at the metro stations handing out leaflets, and also our action alerts encouraging members to email their state representatives to tell them to fully fund WMATA, the metro. We wanted more money for All Day Mark. I'm very happy to say we saw that $500 million in extra transportation funding came through. That'll be enough to fully fund WMATA for another year. Unfortunately, fighting for the MARC train is going to be yet another fight next year, but we're going to be right back at it. Many other things happen in Annapolis, but moving right along, we're also in the middle of the county budget season, operating budget and the capital budget. Last night, I was at the council giving ACT's official testimony in the operating budget. We called for more express buses while we wait for the now very long-winded construction of bus rapid transit. We also want frequency to be restored on bus routes that have been lost, and also more relief buses to fill in for buses that break down, which ensures more reliability of our bus system. An action alert went out today on that very issue, asking members to please email their council members, and I'm going to put it in the chat so you know. So the email went out to the membership today. There's the alert in the chat. So please email your council members and tell them to fully fund Right On. Also, earlier in the winter, we have been very active on housing issues. ACT supports making it easier to build duplexes, triplexes, apartments all across the county, especially as close as we can to transit. There's a housing ZTA 2502 that wants to build more diverse housing types in our major corridors. ACT is more or less in support of this ZTA. We submitted testimony with some amendments to make it even stronger, especially to include corner lots. The zoning map that was put out in the ZTA seemed like some of the best parcels of land on lots were not included. We wanted those to be included, side streets included. That's just the 30,000 feet from above. Within some couple of weeks, we're going to be working on an action alert for the members to get involved in that ZTA. The council's focused on the budget right now, so focus on the budget. But once they get closer to the budget season, that ZTA is going to come on back for consideration. So we will be communicating with the membership on that. Now, I'm going to get into the introduction of our speaker. And while I'm introducing the speaker, I ask everyone, please, if you want, put your name in the chat. You can also, if you represent someone, put in the chat who you represent. But of course, if you're here by yourself, be more than happy to just say your name. So with that being said, our speaker tonight is Ms. Chelsea Andrews. She's the director and president of the Housing Opportunities Commission, also known as HOC. HOC is the quasi-governmental organization of the county that was formed in 1974 with a mission to build housing for people with low and moderate incomes. Its history actually goes all the way back to 1939, 1938, but its legal formation as it is now, it goes back to 1974. Before Ms. Andrews took over in July of 2022, the Housing Opportunities Commission, she has 15 years of experience advocating for homeless people and for affordable housing. She was senior executive vice president and general counsel for the District of Columbia Housing Authority. The District of Columbia Housing Authority has over 8,500 public housing units. It's in charge of 13,000 vouchers and a budget of more than $400 million. Ms. Andrews has also been an assistant state's attorney for Prince George's County. She's admitted to practice of law in the state of Maryland and the District of Columbia and the District Court of Maryland. She is also the co-founder of the Housing Equity Task Force, advocating for policy reform to address the impact of structural racism in housing. And she is an adjunct lecturer at the University of Maryland College Park School of Policy, um, lecturing on issues focusing on racial segregation in housing. These biographies are always challenging because you never know where to stop, but she is quite Housing Opportunities Commission is lucky to have her. Let's just put it like that. So with that very quick introduction, I'm going to turn it over to Miss Andrews to take it away.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Michael. Thank you to the ACT committee members and all your membership here today. It's great to be here with you and greatly appreciate the invitation. I am going to provide you all with a high-level overview of what we have going on, but I won't be doing it alone. I'm fortunate to be joined with my Vice President of Real Estate, Nihar Shah. And so I will start with a few slides, getting you all acclimated in terms of who we are and what we're up to, and turn it over to Nihar to share more details in regards to the development that's underway. And then we'll open for questions that you may have. And so let me do a quick screen share and
And I'm sorry, that reminded me. I forgot to say, everyone will do the questions at the end. Sorry, Miss Andrews.
no
Sorry, Miss.
problem. That's good. And let me just make sure you all are able to see my slides right now. I'm getting ready to start this. Hold on. Here we are. Okay, can you see my presentation?
I see it.
All right, wonderful. And so it sounds as though, based on Michael's overview, that you probably have some understanding of the Housing Opportunities Commission, but let me give a little bit more detail. Our agency is actually very unique. We consider ourselves a unicorn in the industry because we have the ability to flex multiple tools in our toolkit. We're a public housing authority in its most traditional sense. We issue vouchers and administer vouchers, rental assistance vouchers that are provided through HUD. We also provide resident services to our clients as well as individuals on our waiting list. And we provide permanent supportive housing support. So we work very closely with the continuum of care, SEF, and others in terms of ensuring that the most vulnerable population is provided with resources. And we have a nonprofit called the Housing Opportunities Community Partners that actually raises funds that help support our resident services activities. We are unique in the sense that in addition to being the traditional public housing agency, we're also what's called a public housing finance agency. That is a designation that gives us the ability to issue bonds and to utilize those bonds to help further our mission. We do that in two ways. We issue bonds that ultimately underwrite and finance our developments in the multifamily space, and you'll hear Nihar share about our pipeline. Many of our developments are funded in part by our bonds. And we also have a program where we're able to help first-time home buyers with regards to down payment and closing cost assistance, as well as first-time home buyer mortgages. And so this is really a unique tool. It's not common that you'd be both the Public Housing Authority and the Housing Finance Agency. We are also a developer. We are the largest developer actually in the county, not just of affordable housing, but of housing across the board, and the largest property manager as well. We own approximately 9,400 units, and that's broken down into various categories. We have over 6,000 multifamily units across the county, approximately 1,600 scattered sites. That means individual single family homes across our 500-mile radius. And we have in our portfolio, a focus on seniors. At least 1,700 units are designated for seniors. And we have a very robust pipeline. This figure changes as every time we go before our commission, but we have a very active pipeline, as you can see, close to 4,000 units that are in various stages of development, and a pretty significant investment in our county in terms of ensuring that we're developing and producing affordable housing. I want to provide some context that's actually most recent in terms of our agency positioning ourselves for the next 5 years. Last year, our board adopted a 5 year strategic plan. There are three key primary objectives that we're focused on. One is expanding affordable housing in Montgomery County, and that's done through the production of housing, the preservation. We often purchase various properties so that we can preserve naturally occurring affordable housing. And we also leverage the voucher program and subsidy programs as it pertains to, excuse me, expanding affordable housing in the county. In terms of enhancing the lives we touch, this is the resident services side of our business, and quite frankly, the heart of our work. It's not just about building the units, it's about making sure that the families that we support, which are approximately 20,000 families, have the resources they need to thrive. And we have a very robust resident services division in partnership with the county support, in which we're able to provide these resources. And the third prong in our third primary objective is a more personal one for us. And that's our goal of excelling as a world class organization. There's a lot of effort on improving our customer service, ensuring that the employees who work for our agency understand how valued they are, and ensuring that we're also innovative in thinking through how best to be the most effective world class organization possible. Within each of these goals, there are multiple sub goals, and they're identified here as well as on our website. Our website has a very comprehensive overview of the strategic plan, the long version if you want to read at night, an abbreviated version if you need to get through it, but it also provides further detail on how we plan to accomplish our goals. So I won't go too far into each of them, but as you can see, this one that we will focus on today focuses in on our goal of expanding our portfolio. Um, Enhancing the lives we touch, we plan to do this in multiple ways, and that's through our resident services division, many of the partnerships, as well as focusing in on uplifting our residents, as I mentioned previously. And as it pertains to excelling as a world class place to work, as well as providing world class customer service, we have very clear goals that have been identified. I want to focus you in on goal 3D, which is excel with transparent and accountable implementation of this plan. So, our commission, as well as leadership, of course, wanted to make sure that we didn't just create a strategic plan that's set on a bookshelf, that we were able to actually share with the public how we plan to make this plan a reality, as well as hold ourselves accountable. And just last month we launched our dashboard. So I'm really excited to share with you that on our website, you can go under our strategic plan and see lifetime updates and click into each of these goals to see where we are in accomplishing those goals. Of course, this is over a 5 year span. If there are some delays, there'll be text and data that will share what those delays are. But this is a good resource for you all to see how we're advancing in our plans. As it pertains to our developments, and we created this slide just for you, really, to make sure that you had an opportunity to understand how aligned our missions are and our focus are as it pertains to developing housing, but also ensuring that housing is located in places of transit and opportunity for the public as well as our residents. And so we have spotlighted a number of our properties. To the far left is at the top of the screen is Residence on the Lane. That's one of our newer developments in Rockville. It's beautiful. It's for our seniors. We have Strathmore Court, which is at White Flint Metro Station. We have at the bottom left Metropolitan, which sits over the metro in Bethesda. And to the far right, at the top, we have Metro Point, which sits on top of the metro in Wheaton. We have Alexander House underneath there that is at Silver Spring. And then the latest addition to the family is the Leggett, which is our beautiful new development that's also at the Silver Spring Red Line Metro Station that is also connected to the South County Aquatic Center that we developed and is absolutely beautiful. So I encourage you to visit. And so these are many of our properties, as you can see, are strategically located so that we can ensure that we're able to serve our residents and the population in the best manner possible. I want to give a high-level overview of what we've actually become quite popular for these past few years. It is related to our Housing Production Fund. This is a fund that was created in partnership with the County Council, and it was a creative tool that was developed back in 2021 with the focus on creating an opportunity for ensuring that HOC could continue to deliver on its mission, but as fast as possible, and leverage our resources. So this particular fund is a fund that allows us, in partnership with the county, to address the high cost of construction. It's a revolving fund. So as you can see in this slide, this fund will produce 6,000 homes in 20 years. It leverages taxpayer dollars. $54 million is leveraged to create $2 billion in investment. And this is ultimately utilizing bonds and working with the county in terms of the county contributing towards the payment of principal and interest on those bonds, us leveraging them to ultimately create additional housing. And we'll create 6,000 new homes over the next 20 years, 30% of which will be affordable. HOC has a mixed income model. So when we develop, we don't just develop affordable, we develop both affordable as well as market rate units to help offset the cost of the affordable and ultimately create inclusive communities. And this model has been extraordinarily successful for us. We have 7 projects in the pipeline. And as you can see, we have at the bottom of the slide, all of our shameless plugs in terms of the media attention that we've gotten. And New York Times spotlight just really allowed us to get on the big screen page, etc., as it pertains to our HPF. I will just indicate that we also have proof of concept, one of our developments called the Laureate, which is at the Shady Grove Metro Station. So you'll hear about some other properties that we also have Metro located here. Was the first property where we were able to leverage this fund. It's a beautiful development, highly amenitized, that ultimately within as you can see, a short period of time, council passed the resolution for this fund in March of 21. We were able to establish it in August. By December, we were able to designate this money for the Laureate. And because of the success of the Laureate, the council approved a second tranche of $50 million. And we continue to advance this project and many others. But this particular development continues to request tours from various colleagues across the nation. I also was invited by Bloomberg to go to Mexico City to talk about our housing production fund. So this is definitely something that we should all be proud of and that we've been able to leverage. And just to emphasize this even further, the state adopted legislation to create a housing innovation fund, which was ultimately encouraged and created as a result of the Housing Production Fund and the concept there. We also have been working with multiple jurisdictions, Michigan, Massachusetts, Rhode Island. They've all started statewide efforts to fund mixed income public development as well. We work very closely with our colleagues in Atlanta and Chicago, Chattanooga, and Boston, who are also creating their versions of these funds. And we've done a lot of advocacy to demonstrate the importance of it and have had the benefit of working closely with both HUD and the Treasury as it pertains to thinking about the financing of development. And I won't even get into all the acronyms we have here, but creative ways to leverage for housing finance agencies to leverage federal programs to continue to fund publicly owned development. I'm now going to turn it over to Nihar, who is leading all of our efforts as it pertains to our development that's underway, and allow him an opportunity to share with you what we have in our pipeline. And Nihar, I will move the slides. Just give me a green light when you're ready.
Okay, thank you, Chelsea. As Chelsea mentioned, thank you for having us. We're very excited to be here and talk a little bit more about HOC and everything that we've been doing within the county, and appreciate all of your efforts that you contribute to the county as well for proactive development. Also, as Chelsea mentioned, we have a robust pipeline. Not only are we resyndicating some of our existing assets, but we are also building a lot from the ground up. And Hillendale Gateway is one of those projects that we are building in the East County area, pretty close to the Beltway there in Silver Spring, Maryland. And this is going to be a transformational development. Where we're going to be creating 463 residential units in 2 separate buildings. So if you can see the buildings, the backward L-shaped are the 2 buildings that you'll see. One of them is 155 units, completely age restricted, so 62 years old and up. And then the other one is going to be a 308 unit building, no restrictions on age. But both of them are going to be net zero energy and passive house, which effectively means that any energy that it consumes, it also creates. And so we have really detailed with our partners and installed solar paneling on our precast garage, ensuring that we're using sustainable materials and mitigating additional water resources for irrigation. So it's going to be a dynamic new development within the county. It's the first in the state of Maryland that is net zero and passive house. So we're really excited about that. We had a great groundbreaking last year in the fall, and we're expected to deliver the first units hopefully by the first quarter of 2027. So less than 2 years away. Not only does it have the 463 units, but we are moving more into the mixed use type of development. So we also have additional retail here. And so we're trying to create this town center feel. You can't really see it in the site plan here, but there's also going to be a small amphitheater so you can have some outdoor entertainment and some community building. Beyond just the additional housing and retail, This is on a very active, as you can sense, a very active street. And so, we have put in millions of dollars in investments to create a new transit station on Powder Mill Road. And so that will help afford this area of the county to have a more efficient bus line to connect to other parts of the county. Next slide, please. So I touched on a lot of this already. As Chelsea mentioned, we try to do 30% affordable. This one is actually going to be nearly 60% affordable because all of the units on the senior building or the age-restricted building are going to be in the affordable range. And then we're going to do an additional 30% on the non-age restricted building. So we're really proud that it's a transformational project, highly sustainable. You haven't really seen this in the affordable housing sector, and nearly 60% of the units are going to be in the affordable category, which what we define is going to be 65% AMI or less, but a lot of these are going to be hovering closer to the 50% AMI range. And as I mentioned, the $1.5 million that we have spent on the transportation improvement program, including, the new transit station, but then also within our precast garage, we're signaling more electric vehicle chargers because that's the way of the future, and also some key other areas with bike parking and things like that. Next slide, please. So that is one of the projects that are under construction. We're also building our headquarters, but that has less to do with housing and more to do with where people that are creating housing work. So wanted to kind of focus our attention to what we've been working on that we will be producing in the coming years. And so if you go to the next page, Chelsea, wanted to talk a little bit about the Sage. So this is the second property that HOC has developed within the West Side Shady Grove master plan. So this is across the street, if you can see from the site plan there. You see the metro axis, so it's walkable to the metro here, to the Shady Grove metro station. And this is going to be 413 units. 30% or 123, 124 units are going to be in the affordable range. And we're hoping to break ground here this summer. And so, we're just waiting on final permitting. We have some attractive term sheets from lenders, so we just need to go through their closing process. And so this is also going to include 7,000 square feet of public amenity, which is going to be, right now, it's earmarked as a branch library with the county. So again, another partnership with the county. And it's going to be, what you would imagine a Class A luxury building to have. So all of the amenities, fitness area, rooftop lounge, massive, co-working spaces for the residents to live and to work out of, and then walking distance to the metro. And then we didn't put too much retail here because it already had the Laureate, which is our first phase, already has sufficient retail. And the Daily also has retail that was built by EYA. So we're excited about this one as well. This should be about a 27-month construction cycle. So we should be wrapping up construction, and first deliveries would be in Q3, Q4 of 2027. So 2 deliveries, roughly of 900 units in 2027. So we're excited about that. Next slide, please. This is another property that is going to be starting later on this year. So less accessible to transit, but we're also contemplating, trying to create a BRT line here to create some more TOD development. But this is in Clarksburg, in Up County, where we have realized that, Clarksburg is turning into kind of an affluent submarket with a lot of for sale product, but not too much of the affordable or for rent product. And so we're partnering here with a private developer to create 184 units of sustainable family style apartments. So we're weighing heavily on the 3 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms in hopes that it attracts the families that are attracted to Clarksburg. And so that's our intention here. For some reason, my laptop is. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
No problem. I do appreciate you putting in the map showing the transit part of it. How, yeah, I know you said you did it just for us, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, so this one, as I mentioned, we're as you can see from the notes here, where 54 affordable units are going to be restricted to 50% AMI, or 38 are going to be 50% AMI, but 57 are going to be 65% or less. So this should break ground probably Q4 of this year, and it should take about 2 years to build out. So early 28 is our hope that this would be built out. Next slide, please. And then this one is also a transformational project that we're working on in Wheaton. So really close to the Wheaton Metro Station. You can see that kind of pinned on the bottom graphic there. And it's going to really, so this is a multi-layered partnership, right? So there's 2 or 3 partners here alongside HOC, where we're going to be taking what used to be a shopping center, a car dealership, an older apartment, and creating and activating truly a new sense of community here, which we hope to kind of change and uplift the existing community. So you can see the Veers Mill West kind of triangle area. So that's going to turn into a park for the existing community, rather than what it is there today as more of excess parking. And then beyond that, as you can see on the lower graphic there, very similar to how we're kind of transacting on Hillendale, where section 2, that's going to be about 120 units of age restricted housing. So again, 62 years old and above. And then section 1, we're hoping to create about 350 units there of mixed income housing. And then there's going to be a dynamic retail there. So we're hoping to not, push national chains and fast casual places, but more amenities that the community can use, like daycare centers, where there's a need for families to have daycare. And then phase 2 is going to be where it's called section 3, which is going to be another 350 to 400 units with an additional 25,000 square feet of retail. So all in all, this should create about 800 to 900 total additional units, and of which they're going to be closer to 40 to 45% are going to be affordable. And again, walking distance to the metro, and also all the bus lines that kind of intersect on University Boulevard and Veers Mill Road. So we're excited about this one too. This one, we probably aren't going to start until 2027. So we're still in kind of the site plan approval phase with park and planning. And so we're hoping to close our financing next year, and then it should take the better part of 2 years to deliver. So we believe that, by the second half of 29 is when this would be completed. So those were just a few of the pipeline projects that we have. As Chelsea mentioned, we do have nearly a dozen more, but they're all kind of, some are very early in the process, and we're still trying to figure out and hone in on the programming. And some we're still trying to seek approval from the commission. But all in all, in the next few years, we have over 4,000 units that are coming in, and we especially look for TOD locations, because that we feel that's where it creates the most value.
Thank you. And with that, we open for any questions you may have.
Okay.
So we have one question so far in the chat from Richard. Just going back to the overview of the Housing Opportunities Commission's work and the scale in the first slide that you have compared to the need for the services. So
Yes.
how's that looking?
Great question, right? So currently we're serving approximately 20,000 residents. On our waiting list, there are approximately 39,000 families that are waiting for housing. And so, of course, the need far exceeds our current capacity. So great question. Thank you.
All right, and then Richard had another question. Can you describe the challenges to build transit-friendly projects rather than design transit-proximate projects?
Yeah, happy to, and that's also a great question. So, some of the challenges that are facing with transit-friendly projects is a lot of kind of educating. You guys are well versed with it, obviously, but a lot of it's educating the surrounding community on, why we're kind of designing roads the way we are, with kind of curb diets, focusing in on electric vehicle charging, adding, and trying to lobby for more bike lanes. And, obviously we want to be in close proximity to Metro to leverage, the infrastructure that's already there. But we don't shy away from having those tough conversations with the county and park and planning and staff to help kind of create the infrastructure for more, car-centric transportation. So it's a lot more of kind of hand-holding, for lack of better words, than when just plopping up a new development.
And Malcolm, you had your hand up?
Yes, thank you.
Further questions
yes.
from chat.
Oh, do you want to take the ones from chat first, or?
No, your hand was up first. Go for it.
Yeah, thank you. Chelsea, it's great to see you. Just a question. So I'm wondering how you select sites that are transit oriented. I ask because there is one right in my backyard, and I'm getting ready to be a YIMBY for the first time in my life. I'm going to go to the hearing and make sure that, like, my HOA is trying to oppose it. It's on the corner of Georgia Avenue and Randolph Road. There's a hearing on May 30th for it, but I see that HOC owns two-story townhouses directly south of that site. So I'm wondering, like, obviously there are always going to be community objections to this thing when it's going on in the local level, but like, how does HOC select what sites you feel are most viable to move forward with in the redevelopment process? And then, like, what does it look like in terms of HOC trying to make sure that the rezoning actually happens so that the development can move forward?
Great question. And I'll start and turn to Nihar. I will say that our team, both in terms of HOC as well as some of the partners that we bring on board as it pertains to consultants, help keep us in the loop in terms of various zoning changes and opportunities to get involved at the beginning stages of sector plan development across the county. That has really been one of the ways in which we've been able to advance our mission and be strategic about it. There are a couple of ways in which we we make decisions in regards to developments, sometimes we own the parcel, sometimes the county owns the parcel, sometimes a private developer owns the parcel and comes to us. And then there are times where, and we do have the right of what's called a ROFR, the right of first refusal. If a property is being sold, we will take advantage of that because it allows us an opportunity to jump in. And then there's the opportunistic aspect of the work we do. And it is in NEHAR's blood to look to look on an ongoing basis around the county and identify where there may be opportunities. And so definitely transit-oriented locations are prime. Many sites we've already identified, and we're also thinking strategically around how to leverage our resources to take advantage of them and or in negotiations that haven't yet become public. But we definitely are and have our pulse on making sure that we position ourselves, especially where there's transit located. And Nihar, anything else you can add, please do.
I think you hit it all, Chelsea.
Okay.
Right. So the next question I got was from Chris. Is there a I'm assuming this is about the housing. Is there a resident advisory council type organization in the housing project?
Yes, in fact, it's our resident group is called the Resident Advisory Board, the RAB. They were developed, in fact, we've had the RAB for quite some time, but during COVID, it kind of settled down and was defunct. And the last few years, we launched a very public campaign to get engagement, had over hundreds of people apply for the various positions on that board. And it is a fully functioning board that meets on a monthly basis. There's representatives from various customer bases, from our voucher holders to our residents, a member who is actually on the board as well for HOC. And this is a board that we staff go to before advancing policy recommendations. If we're working on any matter that might result in touching residents and customer engagement, and so they're very involved. They write letters of support and or raise issues that we have to respond to as we're advancing matters before the commission. So we do have a very active resident advisory board.
All right. And then we got then I'm going to do both your questions and then we'll get to Tim's, and then I have a question and then Richard's question. Making sure I get everybody's question in as much as we can. So Ben's first question was, do you have plans to convert the one family units to duplexes and triplexes as Thrive 2050 is implemented, which as we know is slow?
Well, I will say that our scattered site portfolio was purchased through various programs. The MPDU program, a partnership with the state. I'm giving you that context because these scattered sites actually do not generate a great deal of revenue. They are some of our larger properties that serve our our lower income population. And as it pertains to being able to raise additional resources to convert them or to reposition them, that would require additional resources. We do lobby the county on an annual basis for support to keep those scattered sites even safe and habitable. But we would love to think through some potential sources so that we could think through opportunities to expand those sites. But as it stands, with the 1,500 to 1,800 scattered sites that we have, our focus has been to make sure that they're operable, that they're open, that they're, at the quality that we require, and have not yet created a plan as it pertains to transforming them. What we have done on the converse is work with partners like Habitat for Humanity, and other nonprofits as it pertains to thinking about home ownership opportunities. So when a site has or a townhome has a high amount of capital needs within the last year, we've identified 20 that did. We worked with Habitat to partner and create first-time home buyer opportunities for families.
And just to add a little bit more to what Chelsea mentioned, we are looking at ways to kind of add that missing middle piece in accordance to Thrive 2050, where, you know, not necessarily scattered sites per se, but, you know, if we have kind of inefficient use of land that we currently own, or if a partner brings us a piece of land that they currently own, rather than kind of just do the full on, you know, large density, high density developments that I mentioned to you today, but, you know, try to conform more to the neighborhood and create these duplexes and quadplexes there.
All right. Next question from Ben. The Hillendale project is next to the Amalgamated Transit Union International HQ. They have intention of building housing on their property. They have a lot of land which could accommodate enough housing to make that a much more walkable community than just your property can do. Are you coordinating with them by chance?
We are. We've been in close discussion with them for a while now. They're still kind of, you know, their capital structure is obviously different than our capital structure, so they're still trying to figure out how it all works. But, you know, once they're ready to go, we'll be in close contact with them.
Tim's question, are there plans to modify or redevelop the Cedar Mill Apartments in Gaithersburg? Which, question mark, I believe these are under HOC ownership.
Not currently. However, we are exploring opportunities to potentially work in partnership with the development that's taking place across the street from Cider Mill. You may be familiar with Lake Forest. And so we're exploring opportunities to potentially think about working with them to develop additional housing. We are in the future going to advance a plan as it pertains to redeveloping Cider Mill. We'll be doing that with a lot of community engagement, of course, and have to map out a pretty comprehensive plan. It's our largest development. And so we'd have to develop a plan that allows for a build first model is what we want to advance when we do move forward with development at Cider Mill, so that we can keep families in the community and also, of course, reduce any disruption in terms of families in their lives. But there will be development in the future at Cider Mill. I'll say stay tuned, and you will see what we have planned there. But we do plan in the meantime to continue to invest in that property. There's a lot of work underway in terms of adding some additional sustainability. We're exploring solar panels. We're adding additional high-speed internet to all the families there. So there's a great deal of investment taking place to make sure that the current quality of life is a very positive one for the families.
All right. And you brought up community engagement, which leads nicely into my question. I live in Wheaton, and my neighborhood Facebook group has been very spicy when it comes to talking about the Wheaton Gateway, including people saying nobody ever, this process is going too fast and no one has ever reached out for us to public comment ever. And I never heard of this, which is funny because they've been posting about it for years in this neighborhood group, and it's the same people complaining about never hearing about it. How do you deal with that level of community pushback? And
well,
I don't know if it's only on Facebook, but I expect some of them are showing up at public meetings because that's what people do. Like, how do you deal with these? You have these important housing projects that are coming in and that are clearly well thought out. What do you do with my Facebook group?
Right. Well, let me just say the irony here is I also live in Wheaton. And before I joined HOC, I was the chair of what's a group called WUDAC, which is the Wheaton Urban Advisory Group. And before that, there was an organization called RAC, which was also a county entity, a county entity that was established to focus on the developments happening in Wheaton. And in those roles, of course, closely connected to my neighbors, understanding some of the questions, concerns, and HOC would come to that group to present often. And so what we do and what we try to do is just make sure that we're communicating to the best of our ability. We do try to send out as much notifications as we can through all the different mediums we know. And if there are other suggestions and ideas, other ways that we should touch people, we definitely welcome them. But we have the record to demonstrate the number of times in which we've engaged in community meetings. We've had multiple meetings at various in-person meetings with the community, attending all of these different committee groups. Of course, there's even a website that's a live website for development updates. There's a lot of public feedback, which would give us the impression that that we have not had challenges getting the word out. So we just try our best to understand that everybody doesn't necessarily have connections to every medium, but it's definitely clear that our intention is to make sure that as many people that want to know about what's going on at the site has the opportunity to weigh in. There's also this very big sign there at the site that publicizes any public meeting. So there's
I've seen this one.
okay, so we try, and again, we recognize that there are always going to be pushbacks at different levels. Our hope is that we're able to respond in a manner that gives everyone a level of comfort and understanding that our goal is to get everyone on board and aligned with this project that's going to ultimately benefit our community. So,
Thanks.
thank
And
you for
then
the question.
Mike has his hand up,
Even
and then Richard, if I want to make sure everybody gets a chance to ask questions. So Richard, if there are no other questions, we'll get to your 2 new questions.
Okay, thank you. Elan Deal, your question kind of stole something of the things I was thinking about, but that doesn't surprise me. But that will lead into something else. I guess this goes back to the scale of the commitment that Richard brought up and then your answer to it. And I was wondering if you could address, is there ever been a time when, zoning as it is has affected land that you would or think could be redeveloped for one of your projects? And 2, considering how some of your projects, you are trying to tap into TOD, transit-oriented development, have you ever consulted with MCDOT on maybe bus frequencies that go past your project? Like if they're like running only every 30, 40 minutes. Have you ever had these conversations like, hey, we're building this great new project. We want it to be TOD, but the buses don't run so much. So is there anything we could try to do about that? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Nihar, do you want to respond to the first in regards to zoning, and then I'll weigh in. I actually have a meeting just next week about that topic. We're constantly in connection with MCDOT about transportation access, not only to what we're developing in the future, but also making sure that there's no cuts in service to our current sites, which is something that we also have to advocate for as well. But Nihar.
Sure. Yeah. So as it relates to zoning, fortunately, for the most part, TOD sites typically are zoned in a way that provide for higher density and increased accessibility to automotive transportation. But as Chelsea mentioned earlier in this call, we do kind of think more beyond just what a private developer would do, or we look at our existing assets and see if we hear about a sector plan, that's going to be kind of reconsidered, and we try to upzone that as much as we can, so that in the future, the next iteration of HOC have the ability to increase the density there. But for existing or immediate projects that would be in our pipeline, we try to conform to the zoning. We do with our mixed income ability, we do kind of get the additional FAR because of the additional MPDUs that we put in. But if there's a way that we can talk to staff or park and planning to kind of maximize the density there, we're all for it. To go through a rezone when the sector plan isn't kind of being considered, as you all know, that would take an additional 3 to 4 years, and we're really way down on kind of our impact and when we want to build the housing. So we kind of target areas that are, Clarksburg is a great example, right? So Clarksburg isn't as zoned as highly as downtown Bethesda, where we have a lot of our properties, but we would try to maximize the zoning there, and that's how we're creating the 185 units there. We tend to kind of we're more compelled to kind of develop in those higher density areas.
All right. There was a question, also feels like a question / comment from Paul. Why should people in communities adjacent to proposed new housing ventures have more say in the process than the 30,000 people on your waiting list? Which is definitely a frustration I feel like a lot of us share.
And I would say it's not that they should have more say. It's quite frankly, as you all know, who has the time, who has the ability, who has the exposure, who is engaged in these various hearings and are advocating in ways that lift their voices. And oftentimes that's the challenge. And so it is my strong belief that, organizations like yourself, HOC, and others, we speak on behalf of some of those individuals who really do need a voice, who aren't present, but for many reasons aren't as active in the political process or engaged. But the data speaks for itself. And the people who are on the waiting list and their needs is something that we advocate for and that we point to as it pertains to the income levels, the size of families, the ability for our families to thrive, which means being able to get to and from work. And so these are all of the different aspects that we raise, but we wholeheartedly agree that it should not just be the communities that are adjacent. It should be the people who are on our waiting list, quite frankly, that would benefit from those homes that should be, of course, their voices should be the loudest here and most important, to say the least.
Right. And Richard had a couple questions, but it is 8:30. So Richard, I'm going to try and summarize your questions as best I can. Because some of them there is definitely a common theme in all of our questions, I think. One of Richard's questions is, what are you doing to educate the folks who live there on, ways they can be more car light or car free? And do you have a plan or priority to enhance pedestrian and bike connections with your preservation projects?
Mm-hmm. I think in terms of how we can potentially think about supporting residents and understanding how they can be and leverage the transportation available to them, I think that's a great suggestion, quite frankly. Our resident services provides a lot of resources to our residents in terms of connection to nonprofits and various training and other opportunities. But I think this is actually a really great idea in terms of thinking about developing some kind of tool or some type of resource that could help people think about how to leverage transportation across the county. So I'll make a note of that and actually circle with our resident services VP to see if we can think through some potential programming. And if you all have any ideas around that, I'd love to hear them at another time so we can follow up. I'd love to follow up on that.
And
I think
yeah,
the other, Mhm.
yeah, the other question is, which is related, was about, you know, pedestrian and bike infrastructure. And one of the resources I think, especially that specific area, would benefit from, and this is just me talking as someone who bikes, bike share station at the Wheaton Gateway would be lovely, and also maybe force the mall to get more bike parking because they have a spot for bike parking.
And this was
Yeah.
in the capital budget testimony.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I will say, Anihar, I know, of course, we've leaned towards creating, and it's highly utilized, bike stations at our various developments. But a bike share situation is one that we can also explore further. And so let's take note of that recommendation and see how we can leverage space for that. Yes. Great
And
idea.
then, and Richard's, and the last question we're doing tonight is Richard's other question. Are there analytic and planning tools that can engage the public in a way other than the bitter pill norm of like, here's what we got to do. Yes, you don't like it, but once it's in place, it's going to be fine. And he's asking, can we catalog current versus potential benefits to the community, walkability, more diverse incomes, placemaking, plus the benefits from secondary private investments?
Yes, and we actually do this in a way when we are presenting these items to our commission, and that's also that's a public meeting that happens when we are advancing development. We're providing this data to demonstrate why this would be a good investment, how it enhance the community, and we can think through. And this information is also on our website, so all of the various developments and all of the public presentations. So you saw a bit of what we would have presented, for example, for Hillendale, and how it's the first net zero development and passive house and all of the benefits and how it creates a new transportation hub. So we do have that information. Now, where and how we publicize that, we currently have it on our website. I will say there may be other opportunities to share out how we're approaching and ensuring that we're addressing these issues in our developments. But these are all aspects that are incorporated, that our commission not only gets a presentation on, but deliberates on for quite some time before approving our developments in the public. So, but definitely we have these tools available to us, and they are used to create our recommendations to the commission. We should and will, with this recommendation as well, begin to be more thoughtful about how we're ensuring that those same tools, those same messaging materials are being utilized in the public manner when we're advancing our projects.
All right, and I think that thank you for that. That wraps it up for the questions, and I will hand it back over to Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Elon. Thank you for helping with the Q&A. I really appreciate it. Lifesaver. And thank you, Ms. Andrews and Mr. Shaw, for your presentations. It's very informative. It's at this moment, I do want to, at the top of the hour, I talked about advocacy. The reason why our advocacy has force and it gets across is because of our members. Just for example, I was in Annapolis back in March, and even though I wasn't there in ACT business, some other business, when transportation did come up, our action alert was well noted and heard in Annapolis. So if you want to make sure ACT has that kind of pull, there's our join button right there. Please join the Action Committee for Transit. And something else I'm going to one more time plug is our action alert on the operating budget, which is all about frequency on buses. And something that this meeting came out, Miss Andrews, thank you for telling us how HOC advocates to make sure your properties are not getting any cuts. As much as I shopped ACT's operating budget around, I wish I would have ran it by you. So I would have known that that's going on, and I would have said it last night. But guess what? I didn't hit send on the written testimony just yet. So that's getting in there. So I would encourage members, please use that action alert that I just put into the chat. Send emails to the council members on bus frequency. It means freedom. Access to jobs, healthcare are great parks. Access to your affordable home. If we want to have a car light lifestyle, you need to live near transit. So these buses need to run. So you heard of Miss Andrews. They advocate to make sure the buses don't get cut. So please hit that action alert and send emails to the council members. Tell them what you heard tonight. So with that being said, I'm going to close it out. Thank you so much again for your time. Members, thank you so much for joining us. Hit that action alert. I'm going to get the test. I'm going to get the written test, add in a sentence. And that brings us to a close. So thank you all so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. It's been great. Look forward to partnering. Have a wonderful evening.
Good night.
Good night.
And oh no. Mike, you sent me the links as a direct message.
Oh, I did, didn't I? Damn it.
Oh well.
Oh well. Okay. Listen, actually watching you moderate, it's good notes for me for next time how you were doing it. I really appreciate you just jumping in there. I mean, because I'm exhausted, I'm tired. Thank you so
So when I'm done Zoom teaching, what has worked really well is a setup like we had where, one person does part of it and the other person rides chat and then switching off because it's an hour, more than an hour in our case. It's exhausting and it is so hard to pay attention to what you're doing on the screen and then also pay attention to the chat box.
Yeah. Well, thank
splitting
you.
that up.
I mean, I really appreciate it. I owe you one. Seriously. I don't know. I mean, I'm going to get an emergency budget supplemental. Owe you a drink, lunch, something. I don't know. We'll figure it. So seriously, I really appreciate it.
Well, I mean, so my surgery is confirmed for April 29th and I will be mostly trapped inside for a good 3 to 4 weeks.
But you have access to your phone?
I have access to my phone and if folks want to come and bring me smoothies or whatever, I appreciate that.
Okay, well, it's going to definitely be noted because, and, if I could do the surgery myself and make it painless, I would, but obviously I can't. But I'll definitely, you got access to your phone. We'll be in touch. Seriously, I appreciate it.
And I am in good hands with the surgeon. One last thing, name pronunciation is Ellendale. So short.
Ellendale.
Ellendale.
Ellendale. Like the song?
Is there a song?
I thought there's some German song that's called Ellendale.
There might be. I'll have to check it out.
Okay.
But Ellendale or Ellendale. I know which of my friends are obsessed with Lord of the Rings by how they pronounce my name.
Okay. Well, thanks for letting me know. I appreciate it.
Well, the two of you did a great job tonight.
Okay.
Thank